Hi friends and family, welcome to my channel. This is my first video, so go ahead and leave me a warm welcome in the comment section down below. If you feel like it, I'm not gonna make you. So I'm finally doing my tell-all video for like pregnancy, birth, labor, all of that good stuff. Originally I had planned to do it all in one video, but I just felt like doing it all at once. I was missing a whole bunch of details in order to eliminate the time a little bit. I didn't want to make a video that was like super long. So instead, we're going to do a birth video, a pregnancy video, postpartum video, being a mom video, all that good stuff. Just separate all of them. That way I can give you guys my full story. And I'm the type of person that does not like to save the best for last. I like getting the best done like right away because it's the most exciting part. So we're just gonna kick today off with my birth story. Oh, and the reason that I look like this is because when I videotaped yesterday, I just felt so awkward. I had nothing to do with my hands. I didn't know where to look. And I've seen a lot of people do their makeup and tell their story as if they are kind of talking to friends while doing their makeup. And I just figured that I would give it a try. Plus it gives me a reason to do my makeup. So yay. And if you need a good game to get drunk to, like a drinking game, every time I say go ahead and take a shot because I can't like help myself. Oh, and I'm gonna do my best to be as coordinated as possible, but I chose the windowsill to tape my video to record my video on, and so everything that I need is sitting on a bench and my mirror is on the window, but I have to hold the mirror, otherwise it'll fall off the windowsill. So you know what, hot mom, hot mess. Let's get started. By the way, if you're one of those people that want to know what kind of makeup I'm using, I'll put all the information in the information box. I guess. Okay. So first order of business is birth. Take a shot. The night before I was induced, I was really worried that I was going to poop on the table. So what I did is I took a laxative, and usually laxatives work pretty fast for me. I usually have to poop within like a half hour or so, but for some reason that didn't work that day. So I ended up going to bed and then waking up at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning with really sharp pains. I thought that I was going into labor. I went to the bathroom, I tried pooping, wasn't working, so I was like, oh my gosh, maybe this is labor. Woke Austin up, told him that we need to get going, like get dressed, all that stuff. He went, got dressed, he got a coffee made, he got our bags ready, and in the meantime, I had to go to the bathroom again, and I ended up like Hershey squirting for a good 15 minutes, and he was really pissed that I woke him up because I had to poop, not because I was in labor. So if you want to clear out your system before going into labor, that way you don't poop, don't take the laxative the night before, just in case. I mean, a lot of people poop on the table, so it's not that big of a deal. I should have just let it happen if it was going to happen, but I was being silly and stupid, and I just wanted to try something on my own. We see how that worked out. So I wasn't going to labor that night. Take a shot. My granny got me this cup, by the way. Anywho, big summer blowout. I was induced on Monday, the 19th. Yes, the 19th, around 6 p.m. When you get induced, they give you medicine in order to start labor, which I believe it's called Pitocin. And that like kind of just gets your uterus going, and it kickstarts labor for you if it hasn't started already. And at the doctor's appointments that I had gone to beforehand, she did not drop. My cervix was not dilated whatsoever. There was no sign of giving birth in sight, and I was already almost 40 weeks. So I can only imagine how big she would have been if I went on her schedule and not gotten induced, because she was 10 pounds, 4 ounces, and that was like making her come out. So I can only imagine how big she would have been. My poor vajayjay. So when I did get induced, first off, walking into that room is just the craziest feeling ever. You're pregnant for so long, and it seriously doesn't become real until you walk in and you see all the exercise balls, you see the bed with all the machines next to it, and then you see that little tiny like glass bassinet that has the heater over it and the blankets all ready with a little hat and everything. That's when it became the most real for me, that, oh my gosh, I'm having a baby. My first thought was, how the heck am I going to do this? But thank God I had Austin with me, and he was a really good support, and it went smoothly. But just walking into that room is the best thing ever. Anyways, so when I got there, they had actually told me that I was having contractions on my own without the medicine, and I had not felt them, so I didn't know that that was even happening. So in order for me to get induced, they kind of had to stop my natural contractions before they can give me the Pitocin, because if they were to give me it while I was doing it on my own, it could kind of send my uterus into overdrive. And that would not be good for me, not be good for baby. So we had to wait for that to go down. They gave me some medicine to calm it down. It took about an hour and a half, 2 hours until I could actually start taking the induction medicine. Hey, Chip. When you get induced, they will give you the Pitocin. It's only half of the pill Pitocin. They like to give you a little bit and see how much you really need in order to be fully induced. They don't want to go giving you more than you actually need in order to kickstart it. So I actually ended up I did need 2 whole pills. So I took 4 halves every 4 hours in order to get the labor started, which is just kind of intimidating, because it's like, well, if my body can't even start labor by itself, why, like, how am I supposed to shove a baby out of my vagina? So that was kind of scary, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I'm holding this mirror when I'm literally looking at myself in the phone. Oh my gosh, Becca, get it together. Okay, so I'm finally induced in the hospital. My dad came to visit with my stepmom, which was really nice. I didn't sleep at all the first night, because what they don't tell you is how freaking itchy you are when you first get there. My belly was itchy already because I had a crap ton of stretch marks, but then they stick those monitors on you in order to monitor your contractions and the baby's heartbeat, and those things are so itchy. I had Bath and Body Works lotion, which I guess it worked fine for a little bit, but let's be honest, that stuff's not the best for your skin. So I suggest, if you're about to go into labor, you're going to have a baby, bring like coconut oil, cocoa butter, something that's really good for skin, and bring it with you, because I was so itchy. They didn't supply me any lotion, even though I was like crying because of how itchy it was. And yeah, it's just so uncomfortable. So I'm induced. I have an itchy belly. My contractions didn't really start until like, I want to say 8 or 9 in the morning. I think I was having small contractions. Layton learned how to scream, so that's kind of what her new thing is. So if you hear that loud chirping, it's her. So I think I was getting contractions, but they weren't like bothering me until around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's when they suggested that I go and just like enjoy the bath. It's like Maui's hook. Go enjoy the big bath they have, the birthing bath. So Austin and I went. He did not get in the bath with me, but he sat there and helped me like shower and wash myself and just try and relax. But I felt that the bath was making it worse because just sitting on a hard bathtub, it wasn't for me. Austin really enjoyed it because after I got out, he was like, oh, my back hurts. I'm going to go enjoy the bath myself. So he got to go have a nice hot bath, which good for him. Sorry, I feel like now that I'm doing my makeup, now I'm just distracting myself and I can't like talk and do stuff at the same time. It's fine. We're going to be fine. So, contractions started. I was allowed to eat breakfast in the morning, but once the contractions really got started, I think the reason that they let me eat is because I was induced and because my labor wasn't really like progressing very fast, that I was allowed to eat because birthing and labor was nowhere in sight yet. So they let me eat breakfast. If I would have known that that was the last time I was going to be eating, I would have ate more, but they don't tell you, oh, hey, yeah, you're not allowed to eat the rest of the day, so enjoy it. So I was basically starving until I could give birth, which sucked, because if you've never seen a pregnant woman hungry, you're lucky. Okay, I need a break from makeup to concentrate. Okay. So, around noonish is when I really started feeling really bad contractions. On the monitor, it reads your contractions, and birthing contractions are usually around 200. Mine just freaking hurt. They were unbearable. I just didn't know what to do. I was out of breath. In a lot of pain, and they were only at a 36, and I was sitting there like, that's just gotta be wrong because it just hurts so freaking bad. How am I supposed to give birth if this is a 36 and birth is a 200? Well, it turns out I told the nurse and my belly wrap just fell down a little bit. It wasn't reading right. I was actually around like 90s or so. So that made me feel a little bit better, but the pain was getting really bad. So I had agreed if I wanted pain medicine that I would take pain medicine. You know what? It's my body that's going through this experience, and I will do whatever I have to do in order to get through it as calmly and collectively as I possibly can. So Austin and I discussed it before that I would get pain medicine. I'll make it as far as I possibly can without it, but if I want it, I'm getting it. So they hooked me up to an IV. I'm probably wrong. I think it's like Demerol that they stick in the IV, and they told me that it would make me really dizzy. I was really nervous about that because when I get dizzy, I get nauseous, and I just didn't want to throw up. But it makes you so dizzy that like you don't even realize what is going on. You feel crossfaded, honestly. That was seriously the most amazing thing ever. I was hallucinating stuff. The ceiling was like falling. Austin went to go get coffee, and somehow I managed to text him to come back upstairs because I needed him to check and see if I still had my right leg, because I felt like they came in, took my right leg, and just left. So, I mean, I was just out there. That lasted for only an hour, but it was the best sleep I've ever gotten in my whole life until I woke up from it and Austin was sitting on the couch eating a whole bunch of barbecue crispy chips while I'm trying to sleep. So, word of advice, if you have somebody coming to sit with you while you are in the hospital, tell them to bring quiet snacks, because the last thing you want to do is wake up from a beautiful nap to somebody eating very loudly. Not a good time. So Austin actually figured out that he could order food for himself and for me at the same time, and he ended up eating both meals in front of me while I was starving. I should have chosen a different support person, because the audacity of that man to eat in front of me was just so rude. Sorry, my dog's outside. Anywho, oh my gosh, if I keep saying so, while I'm starving, that is around, I don't know how all these women just remember like certain times that certain things happened in their labor, because my perception of time was just a little hazy. So I'm not really sure what time my water broke. I think my water broke around the 3 o'clock mark. Something like that. Yes, I know if you've seen birthing videos or birth vlogs, whatever, people tell you that water breaking is not like in the movies. It's not. It is not a big gush randomly out of nowhere. It's not like a slow trickle of water. It's just kind of like you're constantly like full speed peeing. And it's just so gross, and it's like the weirdest feeling ever. I kept apologizing to the nurse for making such a mess, because I got it while I was on the bed. And you know what? It's completely natural. It's a weird feeling. It's not uncomfortable, but once your water breaks, you kind of know that shit's about to go down. So that was also really intimidating. And it's also why I ended up needing an epidural. I have always been supportive of epidurals. Austin, on the other hand, has not been, but we did discuss it beforehand that if I want the epidural, I'm going to get it. So when the time came for me to finally get the epidural, I made a big scene. I was crying and stuff because I just wanted to make him feel bad for me. Like, oh my God, I thought that I would make it way longer without the epidural. I really wanted to try my best. And he was all like, oh, it's okay, honey. You get it. If you need it, you can have it. You've done a good job. You're still doing a good job. You know? So the epidural is really not as scary as you think it is. They actually give you a little tiny shot beforehand, so you don't really feel the needle going in. It's just a little bit of pressure. The thing that was scary about it was I was having like really intense contractions, and the lady said that if I move at all, even a little bit, while the needle is inside of my back, I could get paralyzed, and that's when everything is gonna go wrong. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I have like period cramps, labor is not like period cramps, but when I have period cramps, it doesn't help me to sit still. I have to move around, I wiggle, just very uncomfortable. I can't sit still. Oh my God, my nose is running. Ugh. Oh my God, it's like PTSD or something. What? So just thinking that I have to stay absolutely still while this big old needle's in my back, that was really scary. But the nurse sat in front of me the whole entire time. I held her shoulders, she held my waist, and I watched the monitor, and every time I saw the numbers rising and I felt it, of course, I would let her know, like, hey, there's a contraction coming, and the doctor that's sticking the needle in my back would pause and hold the needle still while I was having the contraction. And then as soon as that was over, he'd continue to put it up there. And I never looked at the needle, so I didn't see that it was like 12 inches or however big it is. But it really didn't hurt. It didn't feel like a really big needle. When they get to the spot that they're supposed to be putting like the medicine in, they'll actually ask you, hey, what side are you feeling this on? And you'll actually get like a sharp pain on either left or your right side. And I think mine was the left side, and I told him left side, and he like shot the medicine in that direction, and then like the pain was gone. It was amazing. I had to draw my eyebrows because it was just bothering me, and I can't draw my eyebrows and talk at the same time, so magic trick. So I had just gotten the epidural, right? Oh my God, I'm like losing my mind. After I got the epidural, well, first of all, the epidural does not erase all of your pain. It just minimizes it. It, for the most part, gets rid of the cramping, but you feel a lot of pressure and a lot of burning in your actual vagina, which is extremely uncomfortable because when you get an epidural, you also have to get a catheter, and that just feels to me like a loose tampon up your bladder, and it doesn't hurt when they put it in. It's just a very weird, uncomfortable feeling. It just feels like a little straw down there, and every time you would have a contraction, I felt like it was pulling it out, but it's not gonna come out. It's like stuck in there, but it just felt like it was gonna come out, and it was just a very weird feeling, and I just didn't like it. And by the way, I only got half an epidural. They just wanted to see how I would do with that. And I would just like to point out that whether you birth naturally, whatever that means, naturally, with or without pain medicine, with or without a C-section, with or without, or at home, at the hospital, whatever, you're a superhuman because you pushed a human being out of your body, you gave life. And if somebody minimizes how you feel because you had an epidural or you had to have a C-section, just tell them to suck your dick, because we're all moms out there. Some things happen that go wrong and you have to get certain things done. Not everybody can breathe through the pain like certain people can. Just don't make somebody smaller just because they had to get certain things done in order to get through it. We've all been through it either way. So that's just what I gotta say. I'm not trying to like crap talk any people who like do the natural birthing, but I just feel like I don't know. That's just my opinion. Okay. Anyways. So after I got the epidural, I was sitting there and she was not moving down at all. She just wanted to stay all up in there, which is fine, you know, whatever. I'm comfy, I guess. But they wanted to get her down in order to progress the labor some more, since my water did break. And you only have so much time after your water breaking where they want to get you pushing. Otherwise, it can be very dangerous for the baby because they're no longer like floating. So what they had me do is they had me sit on the peanut with it in between my boobs again, and I would rock back and forth, kind of pushing down on my belly in order to try and get her to move down. Then they had me sit on my right side and put the peanut between my legs. So one leg was under it, the other one was on top of it. That hurt my catheter. That just felt super uncomfortable. And every time I had a contraction, my vagina was just on fire. That wasn't a good time. And that's when I got the shakes, the shakes. Those are awful. I thought that I was having like a low blood sugar from not eating. I was freezing. I was a hot mess. I was crying. I told Austin, I was like, what if I like pass out? I haven't eaten in so long. I need to eat something. We tried asking the doctor if I could eat something because I thought that it was a low blood sugar. And she was like, no, you can't eat. You can only have ice chips. They didn't tell me that it was the shakes. I read that it was the shakes when I was watching vlog videos after she was born. And I wish a doctor would have just been like, hey, this is just something that happens after you get the epidural while you're in labor. It's something that happens. You don't need to freak out. You just got to get through it. Put some blankets on you. You'll be okay. So the shakes lasted like an hour or so. It was absolutely awful. Just freezing the whole time. I had points where I was really hot, really cold, just like the hot sweats. It's not a fun time, but birthing is just this wonderful, awful experience. So it's just something that comes along with it. You just gotta get through it. It'll last about an hour. You'll be okay. It's not low blood sugar. After I got the shakes, she was moving down a little bit. So what they had me do is switch to my left side and put the peanut between my legs to see if that'll get her down even more. That hurt really bad. I only made it on the left side I was only on the left side for about maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then they switched me over to the right side again just because I was so uncomfortable. I lasted about 15 minutes on my right side, and then they were like, okay, I know it was uncomfortable, but we have to get her down. Try the left side again. So I tried the left side again, and it freaking hurt. And that's also when I knew that I had to push, because every time I had a contraction, I was like squeezing my legs together, using all of my vagina muscle to like keep her in. That's what it felt like. It felt like she was about to slip out, and I had to like use all my muscles in order to keep her from slipping out. Weirdest feeling ever. So Austin went to go get the nurse, told her that that's how I felt, and she was like, okay, it's time to push. That's the second most real feeling ever, besides like walking into the room and seeing everything. Being told like, okay, it's time to push. That's just, it wasn't scary. I wasn't scared at all. It just, I was like, one last step and she's gonna be here. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So when you start pushing, they have your support person hold one leg. Well, at least for me, a support person hold one leg. The nurse holds the other, but you're also holding you're holding both of your legs while they're like helping you hold your legs. Which was really uncomfortable for me. I felt like I really wasn't getting anything out of my pushes that way. So they got these nice like bike handlebars that they got these really nice handlebars that come out of the bed and they're attached to the bed, and you can pull on them, while you're pushing. And that was much better. When they tell you that it's like a giant poop, it is like a giant poop. You need to treat it like a giant poop. For the first, 15-20 minutes, I was pushing with my vagina because I thought that's what the Kegel, whatever exercises were for. I thought it was to practice pushing. So I was pushing with my vagina muscles, wasn't getting anywhere. Pushed with my butt as if I was taking an actual poop, and that's when everything started progressing. She started going down. So yeah, act like you're taking a big old poop. I did not poop on the table, by the way, because I cleared my system out the night before. But if you do poop on the table, they will just wipe it up real quick. You won't even know what happened. I'm not even going to give you that detail. I was going to, but I'm not. So they'll wipe it out. I mean, they've seen worse things. Wipe it off. Continue pushing. Go ahead. So when you're pushing, every time you get a contraction, that's when you start pushing, and they want you to give 3 good pushes. So you push until you're out of breath, breathe, push until you're out of breath, so on. 3 pushes every contraction. It was so exhausting, so tiring. I was falling asleep in between contractions in order to get rest. I didn't even realize that I was doing it, but I would just like sleep, and then I'd feel a contraction, wake up, and I'd start pushing. It's so freaking tiring, especially because I didn't get any sleep the night before. When you're in labor, you're not getting any sleep. So as hard as it is in order to get sleep the coming days before, you got to try your best because you're going to be so exhausted. Sorry. Talking a bit about being exhausted, just... Okay, so I'm pushing. I pushed for 45 minutes total. During one of my pushes, the nurse left and I got a contraction, and Austin and I were just kind of like, what are we supposed to do? So we ended up pushing through it by ourselves without the nurse, which was really scary, but it was fine. It was just like a normal push. And then I guess she started crowning, and the nurse went to go get my doctor, and she comes back in and she goes, you're gonna have to stop pushing, fight through the contractions, because your doctor's here, but he is here to do an emergency C-section on somebody else, so he cannot deliver your baby. We don't have anybody to deliver your baby, which is bullshit to even put somebody in that position, because all of those nurses there are or should be trained to deliver a child. So the fact that they even put that predicament in my mind is just mind-blowing and unnecessary. So while my daughter's head is about to come out my cooch, they tell me, hey, stop pushing. That freaks me out and it stresses me out. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so this other doctor was walking across the hallway. Turns out he was on his way to the emergency C-section as well. Sorry, I'm screaming. Hey, chill. You're fine. He was on his way to the emergency C-section as well. The nurses stopped him and they were like, yo, can you deliver this baby real quick? And he's like, no, I can't. I have to go to that emergency C-section. He looks in the room though, and he sees my baby's head, and he goes, this can't wait. Like, she's coming out right now. So he rushes in. He takes his nice North Face jacket off, throws on a scrub thingy, and I start giving my last few pushes. I did not scream or make a sound the whole time I was pushing until the last two, because of something called the Ring of Fire. Yes, Ring of Fire is exactly what it sounds like. That is when baby's crowning, she's coming out, they need to make room for her head, so they stretch your skin around baby's head in order for her to slide out. Ring of Fire. That's literally all I can say. Just Ring of Fire. It freaking burns. It's on fire. That's when I screamed because it just hurt. Oh, I'm gonna whoop your butt. Pause. For those of you that don't know, this is my baby Layton. Okay, so I'm getting through the Ring of Fire. It really freaking hurts. I have one more push to go. I finally push her out and just... I did not cry. I'm not a crier. But it was the best feeling ever. Well, when she came out, she was freaking huge. 10 pounds, 4 ounces, 21 and a half inches long. She was a big old baby. Was not expecting that. And when they laid her on my chest, it was like somebody threw a watermelon at me. It's so cool. It's just 1 minute they're not here, the next they are. And she was so calm and so collected, and she just sat there, looked at me, and held my hand while all the nurses fiddled with her and everything. She was just so calm. She was such a good baby. And yeah, it's just amazing. After you're done giving birth, well, after I was done giving birth, the doctor was going to throw in just a few stitches really quick in order to hold me over until my doctor could come in. But after I had given birth to the placenta, which that's kind of like taking a poop, it's just one small little push and it comes out. A whole bunch, I felt it coming. It was like an avalanche or a tsunami or something. Just all this blood started going everywhere, and they were like rushing to like put pads down and stuff, and it was just really gross. I don't know why that happened. After that, I was like diagnosed anemic because of how much blood that I lost. But it was also kind of cool. It was just like blood everywhere, got all over the doctor and stuff. But he threw in some stitches. I tore in my vagina, the piece of skin between the vagina and the butt, and my butt. So yeah, you did a lot of damage down there. Yeah, you did. Afterwards, everybody tells you to be scared about peeing and pooping. I think it hurts more to hold your bladder. They don't let you go pee until like 2 hours after everything's done. And I had to pee so freaking bad. That hurt worse than actually peeing. It did burn a little bit, obviously, because you're all tore up down there. It's a hot mess. It's gonna hurt a little bit. It stung, but it's not as bad as you would think it is. Pooping, everybody makes it seem scary. I was only scared because of the stitches, and I've never had stitches, so I was just afraid that they would break while I was mid-poop and then just everything would fall apart. They didn't. You're gonna be fine. If you can give birth and push a whole human being out of your vajayjay, you can go pee and you can go poop without fear afterwards. You're gonna survive, just like you survived this. Okay, but yeah, I think that's the end of my birth story. If you would like to stay tuned, I'm going to be posting another video. I know all of this is kind of half-assed backwards, but I was thinking about doing the pregnancy video after this, but it kind of makes sense to tell you what happened after I gave birth and how poorly I was treated and why I will probably never go to that hospital again. So if you want to know how awful the nurses were postpartum, stay tuned for my next video. Thanks for coming to watch, and we'll see you later.